Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 92 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm Thomas Orwatt Jr. It's February 20th, 2024, and for this feature, I have bassist, songwriter, producer Jeff Pilson as my guest. Jeff is currently the bass player and musical director of the classic multi-platinum selling band Foreigner. He is also known for being a member of the classic lineup of the hard rock band Dokken and also a member of the heavy metal band Dio. During this interview, Jeff talks about one of his other amazing bands, The End Machine, which also consists of former Dokken guitarist George Lynch, current Tesla drummer Steve Brown, and an upcoming incredible vocalist Girish Pradhan. In addition, we discuss Dokken's past history and future plans of Foreigner. So here he is, Jeff Pilson. Before we get started, please subscribe to the Rock Interview Series. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Interview Series, and we have one of probably the busiest musician on the face of the earth and one of the most talented musicians with us, Jeff Pilson. Jeff, thank you very much for joining us today. We got so much to talk about, but I want to concentrate on your new release that's coming out on March 8th, The End Machine, which is really like a superstar band with two great fucking singles out already. You're welcome. First of all, how do you have time to like juggle all these bands? I mean, you're in Foreigner and you guys play tons of gigs. How do you manage to do all these other bands that you're with?
Well, number one, I'm very passionate about music. I love music. I love to make music. This is my studio. I love being in here. Basically, when I have time off, a lot of it is spent doing these projects. And I have a very understanding family. And they know how much I love this. And so, I don't take a lot of vacations. I have a studio that I take with me on the road so I can do work when needed from hotel rooms. But a lot of it is just time management. I have to be really good with time management. But it's a labor of love.
You're getting some great results. Let's talk about the End Machine. The Quantum Phase is the record that's coming out. For those that don't know, this band also includes George Lynch, who just kicks ass on this record. I mean, some of his leads are like the best leads I've ever heard him play in my life. I mean, absolutely incredible. Steve Brown's on drums, and you have a new vocalist, Girish Pradhan. He replaced Robert Mason. First of all, what led to Robert leaving the band?
This is a subject that kind of hurts me a little because I absolutely do not want anything negative to reflect on Robert, which, is the first place people tend to go when they hear somebody's been replaced, because it's not about Robert and it's not about anything it's not like he did something wrong or anything. Robert is a great frontman, a great singer, a great writer. There's nothing wrong with Robert. But let me explain what happened is our Serafino, who's the head of Frontiers, our label, he just suggested that George and I listen to Girish, who is the new singer. And we heard him sing, and Serafino's suggestion was, he said, listen, I just think this will take it to the next step, and I'd like you to consider it. So when George and I heard Girish sing, we thought, you know what? It really is worth considering, trying this. And so we decided to try. And, it is taking a risk. And again, there's a part of me that's brokenhearted about Robert because I really love him dearly. I really think the world of him as a person and as a musician and everything else. So I really don't want anything to reflect negatively on him. But Girish he just sounded amazing. So we thought, let's try. So we sent some songs to him, and it turns out he was a great writer. And, the thing is, Girish comes from this kind of music. This is what he was influenced by. So it's in his DNA, and it's very deeply rooted with him. And so writing for this was very natural for him. I think with Robert, writing for this, the difficulty was he was kind of expected to be something that I think he wanted to move past. He's with us. He comes from our legacy. So for him, it was kind of like going over old ground, I think. With Girish, it's fresh and exciting to him because this is what's influenced him. So it turns out he was a great writer, and the stuff we heard was great. And then as we started working together, he was a really good collaborator. We had to do the vocals. He was in India, and that's difficult. That's not my favorite thing to do, things remotely. But my God, he did an incredible job. And, we had to do a lot of emails back and forth, making suggestions here and there. We had to suggest rewrites on a few tunes several times, and that's difficult stuff. But his attitude was just premium the whole time. And he came through. Every time there was a rewrite, he'd come through, and all of a sudden, wow, yeah, that's great, and to have that is just a fabulous thing. So turns out it was a great move. Really happy with the results, really happy with the record. And you're right. I think George is on fire on this record. He was really inspired. And especially once we heard what Girish was doing, it just made everything to come together. And wow, I'm just really happy with this record.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. You're right about Girish. I mean, his vocals are so powerful, and
Yeah.
lyrically, the record is pretty amazing. The first single that you released a while ago, "Silent Winter." Tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind that particular track.
Well, musically, when George and I were writing it, we were kind of thinking this would be the album opener. That's why it has the big drawn out intro and everything that we turned out really loving. And so that we were kind of thinking album opener. And then when we got it back, we still thought it was album opener until we heard Black Hole Extinction, which we thought, wow, that is a killer album opener. But anyway, how great to have two things that could be considered the album opener. So Silent Winter musically was inspired by that, wanting a fast rockin' song that, with a solo section there, George could really, really do some great soloing, and I'm so pleased with the music. Then when it got to the lyrics, that was another one that had to have a couple rewrites, and we finally we knew we wanted to say something about what could happen if there was really a horrible event in the world as a result of just the horrible things that are going on in the world. And we finally realized Silent Winter, what a great way of kind of talking about a really, the results of a really horrible event. And so lyrically, I really am excited how, we kind of collaborated on it, but Girish did most of it. And I just think it came out really great, especially following Black Hole Extinction, which is talking about, a catastrophic event. And that's kind of what the whole quantum phase is kind of talking about, catastrophic events. And then through the course of the record, we want to take you on a journey that will hopefully inspire you to be awake. And maybe if we can all awaken, we can all determine our fate rather than be subjected to the fate of whoever the controllers of the world are.
Yeah, that's a pretty optimistic view. I hope that does happen.
Yeah, well, it's optimistic. Let's hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, pretty scary out there right now.
It is.
The next single that you just recently put out, "Killer of the Night." Now that's a great song too. What was the inspiration behind that track?
Well, when George started playing what turns out to be the intro riff, we went, oh, that's great, that's cool. So we built a song around it, and then when we got it to Girish, lyrically, I think he decided. My guess is he came up with the title "Killer of the Night" singing it because it sings so great, and then he just wrote a song about a really evil man doing some evil things, and so that's what the song's about, and I think he did a brilliant job with it.
Yeah. Now, like I said before in the intro, you're involved in several other projects besides Foreigner right now. And they're all really good. And it must be frustrating a little bit that you don't really have time to bring these bands on the road.
It is, yeah, of course. It's for obvious reasons. The logistics involved, the scheduling, all that stuff makes it really difficult for any of these bands to tour or even do shows. But it's something we'd like to do. And because Foreigner is on our last year of big 9 months of the year being on the road touring. My schedule is going to open up more in 2025, as will George's, by the way, because he's slowing, he's doing his final Lynch Mob long year of touring. So that being said, hopefully we'll have time to do a little something. Hopefully we'll be able to do something with this. I never promise because I can't control so many of the factors involved. But because my schedule is opening up, I'm optimistic that well, put it this way, the desire is there to make something happen. I hope it can. And yes, it's frustrating, but we'll see. And hopefully the universe will line up and something can happen.
Okay, well, so let's just say that the End Machine does have an opportunity to hit the road. Do you feel that this is a band that you'd rather headline with, or would you rather go out on like a bigger tour and be like a co-headliner or maybe a support band?
I would love going out there and being a support band. If that could ever happen, that would be fabulous. I'd love to go kick some ass and kick the headliner's ass, because I mean, this band live would be frightening. You mentioned Steve Brown, but you hesitate to say, I mean, Steve Brown is really a talented guy, and of course he's taken the place of his brother, Wild Mick Brown, whom he looks, sings, and plays exactly like, which is frightening, and spooky. I mean, we were looking at each other doing the videos like, this is crazy. But Steve is really talented and can really sing. So we could go out there with some powerful vocals, a kick-ass band, and I'd love to open up for somebody.
Yeah, that's why I kind of asked you that, because I was going to say, my comment was going to be like, I feel sorry for any band that has to go on after that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we could be, I mean, and imagine us doing Dokken songs, with that vocalist. Holy crap, we could be good.
Yeah. Well, now that you mentioned Dokken, you mind if I just ask a couple Dokken questions
No,
real quick?
never.
Okay. It seems like every other day now there's some kind of comment coming out of like the Dokken camp, either Don or George. I thought you guys all got, when you guys got back together in 2016, I thought everything was cool again, and Don took George out on some dates. And what's going on? Why is there still like that, that animosity between members at this point?
You're asking the wrong guy. I don't know. I don't know what Don's thinking, because I've seen him say some pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Hostile things, just some hostile things. And I don't understand why he's doing it. There's really, the only purpose I can think of is maybe he's trying to get a little more publicity now. He's got a new record, and in the past, the conflict about Dokken was such a part of the publicity package that maybe he thinks that we need that. He needs that again. I don't honestly know. I haven't really read anything negative that George has said recently. Maybe he has. I don't know. But I know George's feeling, because I talk to him a lot, and his feeling is like he's kind of hurt. It's like, why would Don talk about our drug use? I mean, that's, especially leaving out his own, which is awfully convenient. But it seems like, that was years and years and years ago. Why would you dredge that up? I don't understand. It sounds like he has sour grapes. I don't know why. We're lucky people. We had a very lucky opportunity. I mean, maybe there's somewhere in him where he feels a regret about how we kind of blew it. I mean, we had a chance to be a really, really big band, and we kind of blew it at the time. Maybe he's never lived that down, because he is the one that broke it up. So I don't know. I mean, I wish Don well. I mean, I want to see him do well with the legacy. And, I'm a little concerned because I read a lot of terrible things about him on websites, and it kind of drives me crazy too. So I don't know. As far as the hostile stuff, it just doesn't make any sense to me. I just want to be thankful that we had the career we had, because it's been helpful to me. I've been able to do a lot of things as a result of it, and I credit Dokken for a lot of my success. And I don't want to tarnish that now, especially, we're old men now. Let's enjoy it.
Don't you think as you get older, you'd like, mature a little more and,
Yeah.
not be as hostile.
Yeah.
When you guys reunited in 2016 for that brief tour of Japan, when you look back on that, was that an enjoyable experience doing that again?
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It was very enjoyable. I don't think we were particularly great. I hate to say it. I mean, we rehearsed, and I think we were musically strong, but I mean, by his own admission, Don didn't feel good about his own performance during that reunion tour. So, um, I feel bad about that. I feel like we sort of cheated the fans a little bit. But we actually got along fine, and we had actually had a lot of fun. There was a lot of laughs. I mean, we did a song together, and the collaboration was very effective, and everybody was very engaged in the recording. I mean, Don had some great suggestions for it, and we worked with it, and everything came together with as about as easy as any Dokken song has ever come together. And then to see somebody kind of forgetting that makes me it hurts my feelings, and it makes me feel sad. It just feels sad because when you look at I hate to look at somebody and feel like they look pathetic, but that's kind of how I feel, and that's sad.
Yeah. One last question about Dokken, and that was
Sure.
the Monsters of Rock tour that you went on in 1988. I saw that at Rich Stadium, what it was called at the time in Buffalo, New York,
Oh
and
yeah.
you guys were absolutely amazing. And one, it must have been kind of difficult to go on after Metallica because that was a hot band of the time right
Yes.
now. But you guys did great. And then secondly, I mean, I've heard different stories over the years about like Doc and Don telling the band before that tour started that he was going to go solo and break up the band. And I've heard different things too. Can you just like tell us really what happened? Was it?
Yes. Yeah, it was actually Halloween night of 1987 that Don first announced he wanted to quit the band, which was a really bizarre time because we were out with Aerosmith at the time, and things were great. I mean, it was the first time the band had its own tour bus, from separate from the crew. Um, and we were really, I mean, I mean, Don and George and I in particular would sit up in the front lounge of the bus with our then road manager, who eventually became our manager, is now a very well-respected, great manager, Rick Sales. We would all sit together, we'd drink wine, and we'd talk about, buying houses. And, it sort of felt like a grown-up tour for the first time. And I understood some of the reasons behind Don wanting to leave. I mean, I would never say that it was completely without reason. He had good things to complain about. I will totally agree with him on that. But then deciding to leave, I think a lot of that was prompt. I think he felt that somehow he could get the Dokken name if he left and then proceed as Dokken without us, which didn't happen because I mean he should have known we had a partnership agreement that didn't allow him to do that, which is why when he signed to Geffen, Geffen, I believe, thought they were signing Dokken, but they ended up having to sign Don Dokken. So his album came out as Don Dokken, and that was him making a mistake legally that he should have. I mean, a lawyer should have told him, no, you don't have the right to do this. But somehow he tried anyways, and it didn't work. Um, but when we broke up, I mean, I was trying desperately to speak with him about not breaking us up. I mean, I knew we were on the verge. And I thought if we can just hold it together, we could make a great next record. We could really, and he had his complaints about Back for the Attack that were genuine, and I really feel were, valid points. And I could see where things might feel pretty at the time have felt like, oh God, this will never get better. I could see where he would think that. So it's not completely crazy. But I do think he thought he could take the name. And by doing so, then he would have, been in control of the band because we were a democracy, which democracies are tough. But then he'd control the band and then, do it as he wished. But it didn't work, and it turned out to be a mistake. And I wonder if he still sort of regrets that. I don't know. I'm sure in the back of his mind he kind of does. And maybe somehow that plants these seeds of resentment that seem to come out in his interviews. That's the only thing I can explain. But yes, he did announce first that he was going to leave the band. And then we kind of had to deal with the bad vibes left over from that. And yes, George started doing things that were not acceptable, playing with his back to the audience and things like that. And that did happen a lot on the Monsters of Rock tour. So, you know, there was it just got worse and worse and worse because the vibe kind of grew, like the bad vibe of he wants to leave the band, you know, and it was really sad. I mean, at the end of the Monsters Rock tour, our record label did, I mean, we met in Denver, with our last show was in Denver, and all the record executives came out from New York and the accountants came out from LA, and it was like a big old corporate meeting we had in a big conference room at the top of the hotel across from Mile High Stadium. And we essentially decided how we were going to break up the band. And, you know, the record label was trying desperately to keep us together. That's why they gave us $1 million for a live record, which was a lot of money at the time, for the Beast from the East record, trying to give us an incentive to stay together. And it, you know, they were unsuccessful, unfortunately. I wanted us to stay together, but, you know, it was by the end of Monsters of Rock, it was apparent that it wasn't going to work. So we tried to finish up Beast from the East, and then technically Don left the band in March of '89.
Wow. How difficult was it to play during the Monsters of Rock, knowing that, you know, was pretty much going to be the end, most likely? Was it, I mean,
Well, as I say, it was very frustrating, difficult. There
yeah,
was a horrible vibe, which I think contributed us to not being. I mean, I'm glad you thought we were great at Rich Stadium. Maybe we were. Some of the shows were really good, but some of the shows were just vibeless because the band we weren't connecting. It was a horrible feeling in the band. And there was a lot of drugs, you know, all the way around. There was either cocaine. I mean, I'm just going to speak for myself. I was doing a lot of cocaine and drinking a lot. But there was prescription drugs and there was other things going on. So, all those factors combined together for a pretty nasty feeling.
wow. Wow. All right. Well, I want to change the subject to something more positive about Foreigner being inducted for nomination into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're nominated for inductions to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And congratulations. I really think that at least in the Buffalo area, over the years, I've seen Foreigner really grow from, you know, playing like smaller arenas to playing free shows to now like playing like, you know, headlining Darien Lake and getting great crowds and everything. So I want to
Yeah.
congratulate you personally for like, you're a big part of the resurgence of Foreigner.
Well, thank you. I mean, yeah, listen, we got a great band with great songs. I mean, you know, what can I say? The legacy. I mean, you know, Foreigner's one of those things where the songs are more famous than the band. And I think the fact that this band plays these songs so well with so much conviction, and are very entertaining with a great happy vibe. I mean, we work together so well. And I think it's contagious the way we feel, and I think the audience reacts to that, and it has only grown, so it's great. And I think that's helped bring visibility to the band that helped, you know, create the nomination for induction. So go. I forget the website, but search somewhere because there's a way to vote for Foreigner for the Hall of Fame nomination, and please go out and vote. You can vote daily. As I do. But I just offhand can't tell you the name of the website, or I can't remember. But
Well,
there's
I'll make sure I include the link in it.
Thank you, and yeah, vote for us because I wouldn't go in, but Mick Jones certainly deserves to go in. So does Lou. I mean, Al, Rick, all those guys. They really deserve to be in there. So please vote because it would be a great thing.
Do you think Foreigner might like give us one more song before it's over?
I'm hoping. There is some incomplete recordings floating around that we would love to finish up, and hopefully in 2025, where we're not going to be doing a big long tour that year, we'll probably be doing some shows, select shows, but hopefully we'll have time to finish some of these. Because there's some good songs out there that would be great. So I would love to have that happen. I don't think there'll be a new whole record of Foreigner songs, but I think there'll be some new songs at some point. I'm hoping in 2025.
Sounds great. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the road, and best of luck to you.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.